Hello everybody, in this tutorial I am going to continue talking about class. In particular, let me start reviewing what we did in the previous lesson. In the previous lesson we create two functions. In this first part, what we did is just to make the configuration. We import the package, and after that we create the configuration. Session equal true, the API key, pass all the configuration to this Tiingo client command that we have in here, and then start to make the first and second class. Okay, the first class is what was doing. It was to download data, and with this data estimate the mean and the standard deviation. Of course, we have in here our function, the initialization function, where all the variables or parameters were initialized in this part. Fine. Then we create our second class, which was called my statistics 1, and in general what this class was doing, it was re-implementing this function, but rather than initialize all the parameters in it, we initialize in this part. We can see that in the first class, my statistics, all the parameters were initialized in this area. Now let's talk a little bit about inherence. Okay, the inherence, of the characteristics of inherence, it's gonna be helpful in order to avoid to repeat the same code again. Okay, let me try to see or to explain this. I am gonna create in here the class called 1, and in 1 I am gonna initialize this with the value of 2 and 3. So we are gonna create our function init, and init I is gonna be equal to 2. Meanwhile, v is gonna be equal to 3. After that, I am gonna create a function called my sum and subtract, where I am gonna subtract two numbers. Where I am gonna sum in here self point A plus self point B. Okay, and in here subtract this value minus this other one. We get the result in here, where after all is gonna be the sum between 2 and 3. That's it. That is this part of the code. We initialize the class and then apply the function mySum. Okay, and we get the result. Now let's suppose, in order to avoid to repeat the same code, I am gonna create this second function called 2. Okay, we see that all this part until here is equal to this part in here. The main difference is that we are adding, okay, we initialize, we name our class 2, but now I am adding this. In here, pretty much what I am doing is calling all this class, all the characteristics and attributes of this class. And now I am adding all the characteristics, or calling all the characteristics in here. 1 is gonna be equal 1 point init. It means what this is doing is pretty much to call all this part in here. 1, of course, I am calling the function init, where init, okay, which is this one, is gonna have these parameters self, A and B, right? And of course I am gonna pass from the functions, sorry, from the class to the parameters a and b to this class, but in the background is adding this function and like placing all this part in here in order to make clear all the part of inherence. What we are doing in here is this. Okay, we have my2, okay, which is this class, the initialization of this class, and then as we can see we are trying to estimate the function mySum. Note again, I'm going to explain this again because this is the most important part of the lesson. Try to explain this very quickly. Note that mySum is located in the class number 1, but is not located in here. And even though we can see that the result calling in here this class, or sorry, the initialization of the class 2, we are going to be able to see the result of mySum of this function, which belong to the class number 1, which is this one, the zone, which is going to be 2 plus 3. And of course, we are calculating here the subtraction between a minus b. And again, note that this function is declared in this part rather than in this class. Okay, now for 1 second I am gonna delete this. Let me run again this class. We are gonna see in here in the line 83 this error, right? This is telling you two objects has not attribute mySum. Why? Because in here we are not making initialization, sorry, we are not making inherence of our previous class. So it's impossible. It means you are not making inherent or adding all the attributes of the previous class in this part over here. Let's say it's in here. Okay. In this part, I have the class number 3, which is going to take all the attributes of the class number 2, which is gonna be this class. But at the same time, the class number 2 is calling all the elements of the class number 1, which is this one. And in here, we are gonna see that even though we are able to call the function mySum, that was already implemented in here. So this is a powerful concept where you can add a lot of functions in one place. So class 3, which is all this, is equal to 7, which is this part, is this the output. Now let's go a little bit and finish the lesson using this previous concept, but using the class already done in the previous lesson. Now I am gonna declare a function called myStatistics2. What is the idea of myStatistics2? The idea is very simple. Okay, I'm gonna create a class called myStatistics2, which is gonna inherence all the characteristics of the class myStatistics. It means download dt, my mean, and the standard deviation, of course, the initialization variable that we have in here. Okay, now, of course, I am initialization the function myStatistics, and after that all the functions and characteristics are gonna be appended. Okay, in here are gonna be all the parameters initialized in this part, and then I am gonna download the data, and after download the data I'm gonna estimate the mean. Note again that this function doesn't have in any part any function called my mean. What this is doing is importing, or let's say inherent, all the functions that we have in here. And of course, after that the data is already downloaded, the next step is very simple. Is to estimate the mean of the three columns, which each one of the columns is going to be the data of the Google, Tesla, and back. And the result is going to be this one, which is going to be, in this case, what I am estimating the mean, okay? The mean of each one of these three variables.